Hello, and welcome to another fabulous live stream where we are going to go over the top 7 new trends in myofunctional therapy that are absolutely going to affect you, whether you are actively practicing or interested in practicing and haven't even gotten to, what is the next step that you need to do to grow your business. I am your Myo best friend. I am so happy to be here with you. I'm Carice Laguerre. I am a myofunctional therapist full time. I don't practice clinically anymore. I have a 6-figure practice that practices in 2 states. I'm in New Jersey and in Florida. And I am incredibly happy to guide you each and every single week into all the things that matter about myofunctional therapy. But in order for us to keep on doing that, it's very important that I always go through this slide. I go live every week, but it's never consistent because I am very busy. I'm running a very busy practice. And in running that very busy practice, when I go live is going to vary. But if you subscribed on YouTube, if you are connected with me or following me, or you're in the Myo community on Facebook, if you are connected with me on LinkedIn, you will get all of the updates. So subscribe, connect, follow, turn on your notifications here on YouTube. That way you understand when all of these lives are going to happen and you can be on them. Comment because it increases reach. I have a very important question I will be asking in the middle of the live today. So whether you're watching the recording or you are live, you need to answer this question. But like, share, do all the things, okay? Because that is how we grow. Now, myofunctional therapy trends. You know that all of these myofunctional therapy trends are occurring, and the field that means is evolving. Like, we are growing, we're becoming a beautiful butterfly from this wonderful metamorphosis that we're on as a field and as a profession. And so I think it's incredibly important that we are all aware of what's happening and what's going on. So there's seven big trends that I've noticed, that I've witnessed, and that I am eager to share with you today. And I'm not going to waste any time on that. We're going to jump right in. The first big trend of 2025 that I have noted is that gatekeeping is dead. Gatekeeping has died. Now, if you're like, what is gatekeeping? What does that mean? What are you talking about? How has it died? Well, it's a very common thing, and it's happening slightly less than it's been happening before. But for at least a year and a half now, I've been on this rampage of like, stop asking what is the best myofunctional therapy course for you to take. You're never going to get the answer that is going to suit you because you're not asking a question that is custom to you. You're asking a question that's based on the preferences of others, and you don't live their lives. They don't pay your bills. They have no impact or influence on you and your day to day. And so when you ask a simple question like that, the response you're going to get is that there are all these courses. But the response you really should get is like, hey, there's this podcast that I love that I listen to, and I think this is a really great resource for you to start learning more as a first step. That is opening up the gate. That's being aware that, hey, this gate of all this information that's so secretive, and like the only way you can access this information is if you pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a course, and then yay, we'll open up the floodgates with all the information. Gatekeeping has died. Okay, long gone are the days, and not long gone, but recently gone are the days of this maze of chaos, because we all know what it is. Those of us who are deeply entrenched in practicing myofunctional therapy, we all know what it is to get from the point where you started thinking about it to navigating this crazy, unregulated, lacking complete standards world. Like, it's very difficult for us to navigate that and to get to the point where we're practicing confidently, where we're practicing in a way that is getting results for our patients, so we're proficient. And most importantly, and probably least on the totem pole when it comes to outside perspectives, is that you need to be practicing profitably. You need to be making a profit. It's not called an investment on a course if you're spending the money and you're not getting anything back in return. You're not gaining on that initial investment. It's not to say, oh, yeah, when you start a business, it's supposed to be you gain, gain, gain. No, but you should be on some type of upward trajectory. And unfortunately, in dentistry, dental professionals lose their investment in myofunctional therapy at 3 times the rate of other practitioners. So there are physical therapists that practice myofunctional therapy, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, and a myriad of other people who some don't have any licensure at all, and some are licensed in a completely different specialty, but dental professionals are losing at a faster rate, okay? Profitability matters. Investments matter. Stop asking questions that lead you to spend money that you're most likely going to regret. Gatekeeping has to die if we're going to help to get better, okay? Because here's what's happening now. People ask that question, they're going to select a course. We're just praying and hoping and wishing, and hope is the very first way for you to land in a deep, deep sea of disappointment. But you're to hope and pray it's going to work out. Everything's going to be fine. I'm taking this course. I'm going to understand everything and I'm going to be able to implement it. And then you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be immensely overwhelmed. You're not going to have any mentorship, because that's my biggest pet peeve, is that there's so many people teaching courses, and then out of all these courses, nobody's coming to help you. Nobody is coming with their rowboat, their little rescue tugboat, to come pull you out of that sea of frustration and get you to safe ground. So why we keep taking all these courses without any intended mentorship is bizarre to me, but that's what happens. You're struggling. You're trying so hard to implement this thing that you only kind of understand. You don't really understand it. You don't take a 28-hour course and comprehend all of that immediately. So your 12-week class is over. So your 4-day class is over. So your 2-month class is over. And then what? You're struggling. So you go into the online forums and you ask everybody that you can ask in the online forums, what's the next best course for me to take? That's that system of gatekeeping. Instead of asking the right questions, you're asking all the wrong ones. Or those who are brave enough to ask a question. Hey, I've taken a course and I don't understand how I need to work on tongue thrust. Can someone help me? What you're going to get is, oof, wow, I can't believe you took a course and you don't understand that. And it becomes really like rude and off-putting. And if you're in the wrong group, well, then you're just making everybody look bad. If you're an SLP and you're doing that, you're making all the SLPs look bad. If you're an RDH and you're doing that, you're making all the RDHs look bad. Like you took a course, you don't know what you're doing. Clearly you did the wrong thing. Now you have a lot of regret. Or if you're a hustler, if you are really resilient, you're pushing through and you're going to keep going. So you're going to spend more money. You're going to take another introductory course. You're going to learn 20% maybe more of information. 80% of what you relearn is going to be useless to you, because it's the same thing. A lot of these intro courses are exactly the same. And then you're stuck because you don't really feel like you know enough. Now you're scared to ask the questions. Now you're swimming in this sea of deep regrets and you're so deeply vested. I remember I spent my first 10 grand and I was like, oh, this has to work at this point now. If it don't work now, I'm an idiot. And you shouldn't feel like that. There should be a community of support around you. And I think that's where we're at. I'm so excited for where we're at with myofunctional therapy. Um, gatekeeping has really died. Now, when you ask questions, people provide answers, or they tell you, hey, I think you really need to look into this. And don't think, and I keep saying it over and over and over again, don't think that any of these teachers who teach a course, including and especially me, are geniuses, that we know some secret that you can't possibly learn anywhere else than in our course. We look up and learn information too. then we redistribute that information. So having access to resources, knowing what to look for and how is so, so valuable. Stop hoping that everything is going to work out. Stop hoping that you'll land in the right course if you just ask what course to take, and enough people say this one. They don't live your life. They're not going to come help pay your bills. They won't come to mentor you when it's time, when you're like, hey, now I need help. All those people who recommended the course, they got nothing for you. Nothing. So don't do that. We're moving forward. We've got so many resources. Here's my important question. Everybody who's live, and if you're watching the recording, I need you to answer two in the comments. If you are an existing, practicing myofunctional therapist, even if it's part-time, even if it's just like one day a month, whatever, when you started, did you have all the access to the podcast, the videos? There's over 60 hours of lectures here, just here on the YouTube. Did you have access to all the reading, all the education, all of the library of wealth that there are in many organizations? The AAPMD, Airway Circle, International Association of Airway Hygienists, the IAAH. Did you have access to all of that when you started? Because I'll tell you, the first thing I always hear is a little bit of pushback. So give me a yes or a no in the comments whether or not you had access to that, because I'm going to tell everybody who's brand new that this is not common. That's why gatekeeping existed. A lot of people are looking around now. We've been practicing forever, and we're like, and forever's not even that long. It's been 8 years for me. Like, it's not that long. But when I started, it was nothing but gates, giant walls of gates, where I couldn't just go on YouTube and find something, where I couldn't just hop on my Spotify and listen to a podcast and yay, there's all the information that I need. There weren't organizations that were affordable like the IAH with a library of resources of education on all types of topics within this realm. This wasn't a thing. And part of what I get is some resistance from these existing myofunctional therapists who are like, this is totally not fair. People are coming in and they're getting stuff that I had to pay a lot of money for, that I had to fight to get to even start to comprehend. People are getting more out of their courses now than was available even just 5 years ago. And I know it seems like it's not fair, but I'm telling you, we're on a positive shift. This trend is the best trend I've ever seen. Things can only change for the better when they change. This is a fabulous quote. I can't say whether things will get better if we change. What I can say is that they must change if we are to get better. I want us to practice in absolute excellence, nothing below the standards of what is absolutely excellent. We can't do that if we gatekeep. We can't do that if we keep it just like the old days where, yeah, I spent a lot of money. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I took out loans in order to do myofunctional therapy, to be able to help my own family with myofunctional therapy. I put myself in dire constraints. I don't want that for the next person. I don't want that for the next person. And I don't think any of us should want that for the next person. Let's push forward, okay? This trend, I think, is the most exciting. I'm probably going to say that about a lot of the trends, but we're on 2 of 7. In 2025, everybody wants to be anything but an oral facial myologist, anything but an oral myofunctional therapist, anything but an oral facial myofunctional therapist, anything but a myofunctional therapist. And no, that does not mean that they don't want to be in the field. It means don't call me a myofunctional therapist. Because when you call me that, it comes with the ball and chain of, oh, do you accept insurance? Because if you don't, guess what? There's somebody down the road who is a speech therapist or an occupational therapist or a physical therapist who practices myofunctional therapy and they accept insurance. And so I don't need to work with you. There's somebody better down the street. Better is so relative and it makes me sick to my stomach just saying that. But you guys know what I mean. Just the idea and the concept of myofunctional therapy also tends to come with a lot of nonsense. There's a whole lot going on. We'll get into some of that later. But everybody's rethinking how they want to be called and revising it. Some people are calling themselves oral health coaches. Some people are calling themselves integrative oral rehabilitative specialists. Some people are calling themselves like dynamic, wellness providers. I don't know. I just made that last one up. But the first two I have heard before, and other people are revising what they want to be called. Lots of people are saying, if you don't call me a myofunctional therapist, nobody can accuse me of doing something wrong and try to take away my license or report me to some board because it's not a thing. It's not a thing. An oral health coach is not a thing. Nobody's going to be upset with me if I'm an oral health coach. Nobody can report me to a board if I am that. Like, just call me something, anything else. And so it's a total rebrand, a complete and utter rebrand, which I think is really exciting because it enables you to be something different, like an airway hygienist. An airway hygienist is the most fabulous name, I think. Being an airway hygienist means that you are somebody who is proficient in airway and in keeping that healthy, in keeping that good. And it's a great rebrand for what a lot of people think dental hygienists shouldn't be doing. But guess what? It's our wheelhouse. That's where we work. We work all around the airway. Why shouldn't we be in there? Why shouldn't we be doing what we are specialists in? Above and significantly better than some other contributing to a toxic cycle. I'm going to stop. Okay. I think what's important is that if you are planning a rebrand or if you have rebranded, there's nothing wrong with that. I support you fully. I support you fully if you want to stay committed to being a myofunctional therapist. If you got certified and you're like, I need to stay a myofunctional therapist because I got this certification. And that's a conversation that we can have totally separate another day and time about the uselessness of certification. But I think it's really important that to make it most effective, you've got to tune out all the noise. There's a lot of drama, a lot of chaos, a lot of crap going on. Pardon my French if somebody is not happy with the word. I just used that 4-letter C word. But there's a lot going on, and it's important to tune it out. That's how your rebrand is going to be the most effective. That's how you're going to make the most progress. Okay. What's that noise you're saying? Turf wars. Urgh. Urgh. Nothing more irritating than a turf war. Nothing that makes me want to scream more than why is there turf wars over something that really doesn't exist. Insurance reimbursement and the lack thereof for myofunctional therapy. Nobody is going to their sound healing specialist or their sound therapist or going to, your myofascial release specialist. You're not going to those people asking about insurance. So that's a big part of the rebrand is that you wouldn't go to a random alternative practitioner and ask about insurance. So insurance reimbursement has to be like a big thing in this field because there's certain people who can and certain who can't. Back to those turf wars. It's a whole lack of differentiation. It seems that the marketing goes out that all myofunctional therapists are the same and who wants to be the same? I was fighting same from the second I became a myofunctional therapist. I have a whole YouTube story about how I started. But for those of you who may have missed that, it was 3 weekends in a row. One, 28 hours, 4 days, myofunctional therapy, wham, bam, slammed with information. Two, Lois Laney's restorative breathing, 3 days, wham, bam, slammed with cranial nerves and alternative methods of achieving those exact same goals that I spent 28 hours learning about. 2 days, a following weekend of voice gym, wham, bam, slam of how you can use the power of the voice to achieve those very same goals as restorative breathing or myofunctional therapy. You're telling me these things are completely different, but they achieve the exact same goal? Yeah, I'm not going to be like everybody that's just out here doing myo and then, thinks that they're special because they've got an oral posture program. Like, that's wild. We have to be dynamic, right? So the lack of differentiation was a big thing to me from the jump. From the jump. Huge reason why I don't do Buteyko on top of other things, but I want to be special. I think we all deserve to be special. And I think that's part of the noise, right? Everybody thinks that we're the same. We're not the same. We're not the same, and that's okay. Online confidence killers are the worst. Those people who are like, you don't deserve to be in this field, you don't know anything, yada, yada, yada. All those people who type a really good game, but when you see them in person, they have nothing to say in your face. Nothing. Not a peep, zip, not a squelch. When they're not in front of you, they're big, they're bad, they're tough, they're telling you how small you are and how big they are. But all of this is really just noise. It's all a distraction. Ignore it all. Ignore every single bit of it. You're so much better than all of that. And you, as a airway hygienist, an oral posture specialist, an integrative rehabilitative specialist, like, you as whatever you want to be called, even if it's a myofunctional therapist or an oral facial myologist, are worthy of carrying the title. Okay. It's a great trend, though. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see what other rebrands people will get. But as we've talked about the noise, we have to go into the next trend, that the drama is starting to come down a bit. There's a little bit of a lull. And I think it's really, really interesting that this is the point in time where things are starting to shift. Is it for the better? Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to have like these wars the whole time. All that stuff that went to New York. I told myself I was never going to talk about this ever again. And I say that in the YouTube lecture, State of the Field, this OMT address. And I'm sticking to that. I'm never speaking about this topic again. For obvious reasons, it just doesn't make sense. I don't think the war makes sense. The turf wars make sense. I don't think the drama and the noise makes any sense. There is no such thing as a scope of practice for myofunctional therapy. There are scope of practice for other professions, but myofunctional therapy, oral facial myology, oral facial myofunctional therapy, oral myofunctional therapy, or whatever you want to call yourself, is not written into any dental state practice act for any profession. And if we're going to talk about the fact that there are less than five out of 50 states, less than five have in their speech and audiology practice act that OMDs, oral myofunctional disorders are within the scope of practice of a speech language pathologist. Awesome. That means that there are at least, there's more than 45, but there are at least 45 states where it is out of their scope of practice. So they're really quick to bring up where it is, really distracting away from the fact that in most areas it is not. So it doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as scope of practice. Get over it. It's done. Move on. There's no regulation in this field. There's no such thing as myofunctional therapy. It is not evidence-based, which is absolutely fine. There's so many other things we subscribe to as humans. Chiropractic care. Nobody is down the neck of chiropractors saying, hey, where's the evidence? Not a soul. Not a soul. Acupuncture. Nobody is down their necks, breathing down their necks, saying, hey, where is your evidence? Not a soul. It is okay to practice an eminence based field, an eminence based modality. It is absolutely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But because we're all licensed healthcare professionals, we want to swear upon swears that all of this stuff that we're doing is so well founded. It's so based in a bunch of reality that, there's abundance of evidence and we can do this and we can do that. There's a great lecture I need you to watch, the Great Myofunctional Therapy Debate. I will debunk that in the fastest way possible. But it doesn't make sense to have the turf wars, so I'm glad that the drama is dulling down. And again, like I said, there's a lot of people who are keyboard warriors, but not a single one have argued any of those points. Sad but true. In 2025, this is a very exciting one, and probably one of my favorites is that I think a lot more people are coming to the realization that myofunctional therapy is not the end all be all. You don't have the cure for cancer, okay? And I don't think anybody has ever professed myofunctional therapy to be the cure for cancer, but a lot of people will swear that myofunctional therapy up and down can help with everything under the sun. If they are struggling with this, that, or the other thing, the only thing that could be possible is that they haven't established proper oral resting posture. Well, that is a farce. That is a farce. I think we all need to understand that when we are bringing people into our world as practitioners, they're people, whole people. They are not just oral resting posture. They are not just their oral facial complex. They're not oral pharyngeal. They are people, whole entire people with a history, with a genetic sequence, with a particular diet, with a socioeconomic background. All of these things impact these people in big ways. You're meeting people at a point in time in their life where anything could have contributed. Granted, I'm a myofunctional therapist, okay? That is my bread and butter. That is how I make money. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that I don't have all the answers to absolutely everything. I definitely have the answer to proper oral resting posture. That's what I know I have without a shadow of the doubt. And proper oral resting posture can, in fact, lead to absolutely wonderful things as happy accidents. But there are so many things that make up health that it would be irresponsible to assume that myofunctional therapy is the answer for absolutely everything. Got a great lecture for this. This might be the running joke of this particular live stream, but if you go back to Myofunctional Therapy Doesn't Work on my YouTube channel, we talk about this in depth. Like when it's not working, it's not resolving that specific problem that they want solved. What could it be? There's a number of things. Okay. So while I love myofunctional therapy, love it, it has changed my family's life. It has, incredibly changed the trajectory of my kids' lives. They're able to flourish and thrive. I always say that I got to meet them for the first time after we got through all of that stuff, after we started to make these shifts and changes. I see the impact every day. I talk to people and we uncover like all the changes that are happening because they've started doing myofunctional therapy with me. It can be absolutely magical. But while it is magical, it is not magic. It's not the answer for everything. And that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that we can, tackle the problem. Which leads us into our next, I don't know if it's exciting, but our next myofunctional therapy trend that there are courses everywhere. And this is probably the most controversial one because I think a lot of people get really upset that there are so many courses, that there's so many options, that there's all these things. Why is everybody teaching a course? It seems to me that if everybody's teaching a course, that's because they're not making money on the myofunctional therapy. So maybe it's not everything that people think it is. I don't know. I don't know why everybody teaches. I know I love to teach. I'm here teaching you, making $0 on YouTube on a Saturday when I could be hanging out with my family, when I have lots of other things I could actually be doing. I just love to teach. I love to teach. I love hanging out with you. I love to read your comments. I respond to each one of them. Leave more comments. Okay. I respond to each one of them. I just love to teach. And I make my teaching affordable. I make my organization affordable. I make access affordable because everybody needs to know about this thing, right? Everybody should know and everybody should have access to it. So don't judge. You don't know why people are teaching these courses, but I think what you can be is very discerning in your choice of courses because I know a lot of people complain. I speak to enough of you that I know you guys are complaining. You guys are like, oh, I've got course fatigue. There's so many conferences, there's so many lectures, there's so many organizations, there's so many courses. I can't do all the things. I don't expect you to do all the things. I don't do all those things. Okay. Most of those courses I don't take. I don't take. If I want to learn something, I'm going to learn it. And we're in the information age. There's no excuse for not being able to learn something, even if you have AI summarize it for you, but you have a wealth of information at your fingertips. Don't judge why somebody else is teaching a course. They might be very, very passionate about the topic. It might be a very personal topic, and it might be something that's very relevant to how you can approach myofunctional therapy with a little different edge so that you can differentiate yourself as a practitioner so that you can be more proficient in how you're showing up and so that you can resolve more issues. Being a specialist and working on a particular thing, whether that be TMJ, whether that be hormones and women's health and care, whether that be gut health, whether that be working on children and like you only want to work with a certain age group. You only want to work with them while they're in entirely uh, deciduous teeth. Primary dentition, primary teeth. There we go. I'm trying to figure out how to say it without sounding all like a dental geek. But being a specialist, it's still very on trend. So maybe perhaps that's why there are so many courses because there's a lot of different ways you can approach health. There's so many different ways you can add on to your myo. You can be more dynamic. You can serve a particular audience. Don't judge while they're doing the courses. Just know that there are more courses, and maybe that's for the benefit of us all. Maybe. Moving forward. Now, this is a good one. Probably my favorite, which is maybe the third time I've said that so far. But you don't need to take multiple courses in 2025. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Here's the problem. You might think I'm talking about all those courses I was talking about in the last trend. No, I'm not talking about accessory like after you finished a comprehensive course, because that's what it should be, not an introductory course. It should be a comprehensive course. After you finish a comprehensive course, those are the courses to take. That way you can specialize. I'm talking about you don't need to do multiple intro courses, multiple comprehensive courses, because there are more comprehensive courses. Gone are the days of somebody being like, hey, what course should I take? And then, you getting this response like, oh, you should take this one. But don't worry, you can take lots of other ones because one course is not enough. Oh, that's rude. That's incredibly rude. Don't tell me you're going to invest my $3,000 because you're telling me that essentially you didn't get the right education from that one course that you took. That's what you're telling me. You're not telling me anything other than that. And what I want is to make the best investment the very first time. And there are so many courses. There's over 20 introductory courses. There are 8 certifications, all of which mean nothing, not a zip zilch. Not a single one of them are making more money because they have whatever accessory letters behind their name. We're in a toxic cycle with these courses where we were in this period of time of making it more difficult and keeping that gate closed, and we weren't repairing at all any of the things that were broken in the system. Now we are in a great time where we are changing the trajectory of how people get into this field. There are instructors, and the field is small. We all know each other. If you think I don't know other people, like, that's crazy. Like, we all know each other. There are other instructors who have become inspired, who are changing for the better, who are adding more to their courses, who are considering doing mentorship because they're like, is that really the only differentiator? Is that the real reason why you're choosing that course over mine? Because there's no mentorship? Fine, I will mentor you. And when I heard that, I wanted to laugh, mostly a laugh of joy because I'm inspiring positive change. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be like a last ditch effort to get somebody's $3,000. Is that, oh, I'm going to mentor you? It should be like mentorship is a passion of mine. I want to make sure you understand and are able to implement what it is I'm teaching you. And so I'm making a shift. We have to repair this broken system. Otherwise, it'll repeat again and again and again, and we'll never get to a standard of excellence. So I'm really excited about this trend. There's a great YouTube video. Yeah, I get it. Running joke. I get it. Great YouTube video about all the courses that are available. But I might have to redo this very soon because things are shifting and changing for the positive. I want to let you know, though, it's very important that while I say things are shifting, that don't mean that you don't have to vet absolutely everything. Okay. And when I say everything, I'm talking about all these courses. So, yes, you may watch a video about me talking about all the courses. You need to go talk to all of those instructors. You need to vet everything that you've read on their promotional materials, their brochures, their whatever that you have seen about that course. Vet absolutely everything. Ask the instructors to meet with you. You're interested in taking their course. Can they sit with you for 15 minutes and talk about it? If not them, then at least the people who are out here still typing what course you should take without knowing any information about you. If they're going to be typing and giving you recommendations, awesome. I'd love to hop on a call with you and to hear about your experience. How are you practicing myofunctional therapy right now? How did that course help you? Did you get any mentorship? How confident did you feel upon finishing the course that you could actively see patients tomorrow on a full-time basis? What are their answers to these types of questions? Because that tells me everything that I need to know. Some people are going to answer super confidently and they're going to be like, this course was the best thing I've ever taken. The next day after I finished the course, actually, while I was in the course, I was seeing people. And then after I finished the course, I felt so good, so good. And I practice full time now. Awesome. You want those kind of answers because if that's your goal, you want to be like them, you need to follow that route. I would still vet the instructor, though. I would still talk to the instructor. You have to know what's the biggest question that you need the answer to by the end of this. How do I work with TMD? Is that something that we're going to be going over in this course? How do I get to where I want to be? And most importantly, I need you to vet yourself. Why are you doing this? Why are you becoming a myofunctional therapist? Why do you care about myofunctional therapy? Who is it that you want to serve? Like, vet absolutely everything, everyone. So, yes, courses are changing for the better. I'm so excited that I'm inspiring that positive change, even if it's reluctant. What I want you to do, though, is make sure you ask all the questions that you need to ask and get all the information that you need. Okay? Drum roll, please. We're all very excited. What is this final trend? And I think I saved the best for last. In 2025, with myofunctional therapy, we are discovering that it is a form of disruption. Myofunctional therapy has become a disruptor. It's the most exciting part of myofunctional therapy. I've never been more excited about anything ever in my life than the fact that we are at this point where we are disruptors. Okay? Yes, you read about it everywhere. The great hygienist shortage. So many people are looking for hygienists. We're trying to now train people off the street because we don't have enough staff. 1 in 3 dentists don't have enough staff. My friend Amanda Hill is out here asking for self-reflection. Are you part of the problem? And you know what? I'm going to ask you to self-reflect. If you're a dental hygienist, are you part of the problem? I think so, honestly. We're part of the problem because we're tired of the same old, same old. Dentistry doesn't evolve. It thinks it evolves. It comes up with new things like AI trends. I mean, y'all are way behind AI being innovative. Dentistry is so behind AI being innovative. The fact that you can yell out perio charting and then the computer puts it in for you, that's something that could have very much happened 10 years ago. Nobody was invested in it. Dentists don't want to invest in these things. Nobody understands that these things are the things that make the shift and change for the better. And so people are getting tired. Clinicians are getting tired. Dentists are burning out of dentistry. If they didn't own an office, they wouldn't be there. Hygienists are burning out of dentistry. We're looking for something different. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I love that myofunctional therapy is a part of that and that people want to do something different. And there are safe ways to implement it into your dental practice. You can become an airway hygienist. That's a thing. That's a thing. And so, what I want to do is I want to leave us on a real motivational video. I want to leave us on a path that is going to get us to be inspired that you can have this change, and this change is going to be good. It's a positive change. Okay? So, here's what I'm going to do. Let's play this video if we can.
Our bodies may be limited, but it's our spirit that's unstoppable.
If you're not hearing it,
when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. The defiant human spirit remains steadfast. When you choose courage in the face of fear, you defy the things that hold you back from greatness.
I think that life is not about the amount of days that you live on this earth, but it's about what you fit into those days that allows you to live a remarkable life. Every one of us, every single day, is blessed with the air that we breathe, the opportunities that we have. And I challenge you every single day to get out of bed and do something that your future self will be proud of.
At some point, we all bought into this lie that you gotta feel ready in order to change. We are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. And in order to change, in order to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary. We want to change. We want to live a better life. The desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action.
You and I are designed to be purpose-seeking mechanisms. When we're not, when we live in our comfort zone, we live a life of survival.
No matter how chaotic your vision, no matter how chaotic your life, don't ask yourself who you are today. Ask only, who do you want to become? And then are you willing to pay the price to get there? Take an action today or you never will.
Take action. The big takeaway that I want everybody to take from this, take an action. I'm so excited for where myofunctional therapy is going in 2026 and beyond. Super thrilled to see how we're all going to change along the way. And I will, in no uncertain terms, definitely be back to report on it when we get there. But I have enjoyed this time that I've spent with you today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week, where we talk about more things in myofunctional therapy that are going to help to either inspire you or elevate you, because that's all we ever want to do here. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. Have a fabulous day. Bye, friends.